Hey, Anthony, great to see you again. Sorry we didn't see you last week in California.
So you have to answer that question after the intro.
All right, let's find out.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. I hope you're all doing well today. Our guest just appeared backstage, so great to see you back there. Anthony Melchiori right over there. I'm Glenn Hausman. This, of course, is No Vacancy Live for March 14th, 2022. How are you, man?
I apologize for being in my car, but I had a doctor's appointment, my yearly checkup that you can't get into this guy. So I had to take it when he gave it to me. So apologize, buddy.
That's all right. Listen, I'll take it whenever anybody wants to give it to me. So I get it.
So answer the question that I posed to you before.
I don't think people heard the question.
I know, but so do you want me to repeat it? Do you want to repeat it?
Yeah. No, repeat it. Go ahead.
I'm in my car and I'm in Manhattan. I'm like, I don't know, call it 40th Street on the side street. And there's a gentleman that's walking down the block with sweatpants, and across his groin it says Icon. And I asked Glenn if he had the guts to wear pants like that, and I want to know the answer.
The answer is a resounding no.
I was like, man, you gotta have a lot of confidence to wear pants like that.
Although I do feel like I would have it spelled ICOCK.
I think we should get out of it. But yeah, so sorry, like I've been hit and miss, and last week you were in California and you went to Disneyland and you had fun. And
yeah, we sure did. It was a whole lot of fun. I think we'll probably talk about that on Friday Night Audit this week because it was such a great special event. But more importantly, at the California Lodging Investment Conference, Anthony, it was super cool because our great friend Craig Sullivan, my co-host on Friday Night Audit, just all around amazing guy, created the California Lodging Investment Conference as a one-day event. I think that's the way you got to do conferences. You don't have to give up your whole week for it. Everything is done. You get all those connections you need, and you're in and out. And I really like that vibe, man.
Yeah, and it's so important in that market to have an advocate, so he can tell you the ins and outs. Because listen, there's no secret that it's a tough market, and if you're really interested in that market, it's like New York. Nobody wants to come to New York unless you know New York. Mm-hmm. So if you come to New York, you call me or you call somebody else, and to give you the lowdown on New York. So I would imagine it's a great conference. And maybe next year I'll get invited.
I hope so. I don't know. We'll see if Craig wants to invite you. He's rather stern about don't have that Anthony guy come this year. Just kidding. Of course, you are welcome to come. You're welcome, Craig. Great conference. And I got the best part about it, though. Nothing against the conference. Nothing against Disneyland, but meeting his puppy Makai was probably the highlight of it. What a sweet little baby that dog is. So that was a whole lot of fun.
Meeting Dave, the producer's wife, doesn't trump meeting his dog.
I've met her before. She came last summer to Atlantic City to one of the concerts that we went to.
Okay, all right, that's a good way to get out of that one.
Sorry, for truth. You were going to say something?
All right, so what are we talking about today, my friend?
Right. I was just about to do a classic segue into it. Anthony, one of the things that we're seeing out there is the rules are changing. And a lot of managers, they've, like our very own producer, Dave, started as a revenue manager and has suddenly found himself in a managerial leadership position of a hotel. But him and a lot of other people may or may not necessarily have the right tools in order to be super successful going forward. And that's why we've got on today our friend James Ferguson, who wrote the Confetti Culture Playbook, who's out there to help all of those managers out there and helping your team, to help them boost their team. Check this out, baby. Got it right here for you, James. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, James. All right? Yeah, James, your LinkedIn game is really strong.
Thanks, man. And I'm sure you know more than anybody how persistent I am. I don't know if you actually control your own social media, Anthony, but I'm coming at you at all angles.
Yeah, very impressed. You and Sarah Dandishi, I think, do it the best. I mean, you guys are do a really, really good job. And
you two know
I can take pointers from you. What's that, Glenn?
Nothing, just ignore me.
I post on LinkedIn. I do a lot and I have somebody that helps me as well. But I don't do what you do. You're absolutely amazing at it.
Well, I appreciate that. I think what's so great about, and you guys are obviously utilizing it every day, is it's such a great tool to like just bring people together and connect people and provide information and add value. And I've just been trying to tap into that and support people that way. So,
Yep.
So tell us about the book, my friend.
Before we do that, I just want to make it clear. Craig is saying you are invited, Anthony. So we expect to see you in 2023 at the next.
hey, Craig, me too. Don't forget.
Hold on, I just lost my headphones. Give me a sec.
Well, anybody that takes me to Disneyland, I'll be happy to. I'll skip the conference and just go to Disneyland. How's that? So Glenn is gone, so I'll be Glenn. So
James
is back.
Glasses,
sorry, I stepped on my headphone cord, a move I haven't done since we were deep in the pandemic, and I totally cut myself off from hearing you guys. Yeah, I'm very nervous to interview you, James. I got to tell you, man. But now let's get into this. First of all, great branding there. I love that you got the shirt and everything looks absolutely fantastic. Your lighting looks tremendous. You are ready for today. Yeah, we see the book over there in the background too. So I think the first question to get us rolling here today is, what made you want to write this book? Writing a book is hard, really, really hard. We all know this. And to take on that challenge, something's got to really, really make you want to do it.
Yeah, it's a great point. I actually want to, since I have the platform today, I want to share that it's really not as hard as I think people believe it to be. It's just like anything. Once you start to take action, you gain traction and can build off of it. But the reason I wrote the book was, in my career, I've worked in a lot of seasonal markets, and unfortunately, I've had layoffs. And I don't know how much you guys have had that experience, but in one of the layoffs that I had just after I got married, the first layoff I got was heartbreaking. Right, it was a hotel I loved, and I didn't see myself leaving there, and so that was a shock. And what I did was I said, all right, well, with this time, which is a gift that I have to set myself for success, I'm going to create a playbook that has everything from how to run huddle, what team building things to do, operationally what I should have, all my training tools and training sheets and all this stuff, and I put it into a binder and said, look, I'm going to use this personally to set myself up for success for the next role, because I don't want to walk in 2 months, 6 months, whatever later and not be prepared and be proactive. Right. So I created that, and that was in 2016. And then 2020 happened, and I said, well, that worked for me then. I was proactive and it applied immediately. How can I sort of take that model? Because writing a book was on my vision board since 2016. Right. So to kind of say, all right, well, now I think I have the tools and the experience to provide that to others. Let me create this playbook for others. And so at that time,
I got to stop you there. You said the tools and experience. Where did you get the confidence though? Because a lot of us are stuck in that feeling that we either imposter syndrome, or we just don't feel we are the ones that should be giving, that advice.
That's a great point. I think it was less, worrying about confidence and just trying to add value. I didn't write the book to make money. I just did it to make a difference. And I've made a lot of mistakes in my career, as we all have. And, learning from myself and those experiences and others, I felt like I could add value to somebody. And I didn't know how large, and, I was in no way thinking huge picture. I really just wanted to put information on paper, see if it flowed right and could add value to others. And as I did the process, and that kind of leads to the, the attainableness of writing a book, I literally just Googled, a framework for how to write a book and started to fill in the gaps. And so when I first started writing, it was like, to try and put the whole story on paper was hard. But when I really realized that I could go chapter by chapter and focus on 4 key parts of that chapter and move on once I'm done, it became much easier to do. And I mean, you guys have better experience than you could write 7 books, both of you. So
good, but doing it is an entirely different matter. So the fact.
So I think I felt pressure in 22. So 2020, I felt pressure because I was just about to have my second daughter, and I was given that gift of time, even though nobody wanted that gift of time at the time. But I had a daughter coming in a few months, so it was like, I don't see another window this perfect. Right. Because once I have that second daughter, my hands are going to be full,
diapers.
And so, yeah, for sure. Now I got 3 little girls. So,
oh my goodness, how lucky are you?
So do I, my friend. I have 3 little girls too. My little girls are twins at 22. My baby's 19.
the best. I wouldn't change it for the world. I love being a girl dad.
Oh, you're a special person if you're a girl dad. I think I would have been I think I'm kind of obviously A-type personality. With my girls, I don't have that. With my boys, if I had boys, I think I wouldn't be a great father.
No, I feel you. I think it's you definitely learn more empathy and understanding and patience having girls.
And I don't know how
around.
their brain works. So if you don't know how the brain works, you just give up and say, okay, whatever. I don't know how your brain works.
So true. So true.
That's pretty funny. So James, so you put together this book in 2020. You started formulating your thoughts. It finally came out last year, I believe it was.
Correct.
Right? Because these
so
books
it came out February 2021. Yeah.
really takes a year or ish, give or take a couple of months, to do one of these particular things. So what does confetti culture mean?
Confetti culture is just, confetti represents, the transforming power of recognition and reward in a culture. And, I say it in the book, in my podcast, and everywhere else, as a leader, the energy we bring every day is vital, right? It sets the tone. So if we're having a terrible day, that's going to be contagious to everyone around us. But if we come in with positive energy, we can really transform the team, and that impacts ultimately the guest experience. And so what confetti is it's a tool that helps us transform a normal day of doom and gloom to kaboom. And it just makes it more fun, man. It just makes it more fun. So, it's a tool just like a vacuum is, just like a hammer is. It's a tool to help elevate the energy with your team so that energy can then be transformed into the guest experience. And I've seen it work. It does work. And, maybe confetti's not for everybody, but the tools that are in this book definitely will help people. And I've gotten a great response, and I feel very grateful.
You have gotten a great response. Anthony, I'll let you speak in just one second, but I did just want to say, everywhere on social media, I'm seeing people holding up their books, and I'm seeing it's very successful for you. So congratulations on that. Anthony, sorry.
Thank you so much.
I like the cover. I like the color. But before I make a statement, I want to ask you a question. Being an OCD person that likes cleanliness, do you?
I knew you were going to ask this.
Do you pick those up by hand, or do you vacuum them up?
So vacuuming, it'll ruin your vacuums. So you don't want to do that. So you have to sweep it up. And as I say in the book, look, whether it's coming together to throw it up in the air in celebration of someone, or it's everyone holding a broom and cleaning it up together, it brings people together. So,
when you did that, it gave me, I didn't see the happiness. I saw the anxiety of I have to clean it up now. That's just the hotel guy.
Don't get me wrong. No, I mean, it's a mess, and but one thing I do say too, and it goes back to any tool, is that it's also an accountability tool. So if you see it in the back house, in the heart of house, whether it's in housekeeping or in the hallways at the entrance or wherever, even in the lobby, that someone was celebrated. That people are doing their part to make a more belonging and caring and fun environment for their team. And so for that reason, I don't get too bothered about it. But yes, in the guest.
No, I was half.
Keep it tight.
I was half kidding, but when last week we had the young lady on that it said what happy leadership. What was the name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and didn't like the name of the book because I was like, oh, really, happy leadership? I have to be happy. Like I hate when people tell me smile and be happy because I'm a happy guy. When I saw confetti culture, I was just like, I said the same thing to myself. I was like, oh, confetti culture. It's like, But after your branding and after you speaking and telling me what's in the book, I was like, I love it. I love the name and because you have the power behind it. But what if you were going to give this to a person that is, maybe mid in their career, maybe 10, 15 years, and you hear it all the time, nobody listens. Nobody cares anymore. The generation today, the people who've been here forever, they don't care anymore. Everybody's got a very short attention span, which most podcasts, okay, including ours, has thrown that myth out the window, okay? So what do you say to that person? What's the one thing in that book that they can learn from that will help them shift?
Well, I think, I touched on in the beginning of the book, and leadership, as you guys know, everything rises and falls on the shoulders of the leader, right? It's about ownership and accountability. So when people use that excuse, as I like to call it, it's them not taking ownership for where their team is at that moment, right? Just like a coach of a team, you can't say that it's the player's fault that they're not playing well. Are you giving them the tools to be successful? Are you having, off-site meetings to make sure that you build relationships with that team? Are you having the one-on-ones to make sure that the players have what they need? And the same thing with hotels, right? So if the team's not caring, it means that you're not caring as much. And
Right.
one of the things that happened through the pandemic is that, a lot of these hotels, whether it's branded or not, lowered their standards to get us through. And I think specifically right now, a lot of people are having the hard to twist it back. Meaning, like, you didn't have your Q&As, and if you did, it was online, and
Yep.
everything was kind of shut down. You didn't have to make the same breakfast. You didn't have to provide the same service. You didn't have to answer the reviews. So the same thing applies to the employee experience, right? Everything was kind of peeled back and slowed down, and we didn't have to anymore. And like anything, if you don't do it habitually, it's not gonna happen. So the tool that this book provides is it provides a framework that allows you to use these things and do them all consistently to create a culture of care, of belonging, of fun. And it's not one thing, Anthony. It's all of them, and doing them consistently. And I think that's how anyone finds success, is saying, it's not one thing I do every day. It's not just because I brush my teeth today that I'm going to be, having good breath the rest of the day, or whatever the example is. I have to do things consistently to find the success in that individual thing and collectively. So
it's kind of like the whole idea of exercising, for example. Doing it once is
absolutely
fine, but you're not going to really see any results until you make a habit and a pattern out of it and do it for a period of time, right?
Yeah.
For sure. And there's like that illusion that it's, I'm going to come in and throw confetti, and then all of a sudden the culture's good. Everyone wants to stay for the next 6 years. And, it's not the reality. It's an everyday grind. It's, communication, it's collaboration. It's, celebrating the team.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I think one of the things you're saying is my book has taken me 150 years. We're almost at the end of it, but it's literally been writing it for 8 years. And it's changed. And one of the things why it's changed is kind of what you're saying. It's not about, I always say, if my team sucks, I suck, right? If my team is upset, if they're overworked, if they're stressed out, if they're intense, there's a level, anytime I take over a hotel or company, there's a level of intensity and stress that I want. There's got to be a level of urgency and a little bit of stress and a little bit of intensity, but a whole lot of confetti and a whole lot of fun, right? So I don't care if somebody comes to me and says, we're like, one person said to me, you give so much to chew on, we can't chew it all. And I go, have we ever missed a deadline and we've not chewed on? They go, that's not the point. I said, are you having fun? He goes, yeah, but that's not the point. But that's the whole point, right? If you're going to do big things, you've got to really you got to find the balance, but you have to have fun. That's the number one priority. So when leaders say to me, or managers say to me, my team's not listening to me, and then this is what I say to them. I said, the team's not listening to you because you're not listening to you. You have to go back, as I say, and rewrite that movie. You're not listening to you. You're not doing the things that you need to do to contribute to yourself, your personal brand, to bring that team forward, right? Period, end of story, hard stop, as they say. And too many managers are like, well, I keep doing, listen, if you keep doing something and trying to get a different result the same way, what do they say? That's crazy, right?
Definition of insanity, yeah.
Yep.
And so what happened was, in my opinion, you tell me, James, if you're seeing it, and Glenn, tell me if you're seeing this, but we all went into, COVID. We all had the lifeboat, hopefully, and we all kind of just tried to survive. Me and Glenn had each other, and we had the show, and that really helped me glue everything else in my life together, from my family to my other things I do in my business. And to this day, it really is a tremendous glue that keeps me solid, right?
Right.
But I really did give up on everything else because there's so much going on that maybe I wasn't, like, if I was running a hotel, I don't know if I would have done either. But maybe I wasn't catching up with people. Maybe I wasn't giving support to friends or people in my business. And I think that is so critical that we have to go back to. We just threw it out. We threw the baby out with the bathwater and said whatever. And now coming back, I really don't think that anyone really has the energy to do what you're saying. I think they're all burnt out.
I think you're right for sure. There's definitely a level of burnt outness, and just like, they're discouraged. And there's a lack of resources and team members, and also, cash is strapped. So there's definitely things that are holding them back. But I think the biggest point, and you just drove it home, is just taking ownership and accountability of where you are and what happens next. And every day building off of that. And, you know, I'm from Philly, so we trust the process, and you have to really do that. You know, it's not, you don't want to take on too much at once or overwhelm your plate that way. But by creating a structure, creating a calendar that keeps you consistent, and using the things that I talk about in the book will allow you to build off that. You don't have to be perfect at each one starting day one, but use the tools that you do have to build off of. And, you know, employees just want to be seen, heard, and supported. That's it.
Right.
Those three things: seen, heard, and supported. So if you can find ways to see them, hear them, and support them every single day, you will build those relationships back up. You will build your energy back up and their energy back up. And again, the confetti is just another way to build the energy and the excitement within the room before you hit the floor. So I think you're
So how
right.
do you
It's
actually
going to be a
do that?
process. But
How do you actually do that to make people feel recognized and appreciated work while getting them motivated to be amazing people, particularly with this backdrop of exhaustion? Because forget the folks on the lines, for example, all of the leaders are freaking burnt out and exhausted. And it's super hard. Some days it's really hard for myself. I can't speak for Anthony, to come here online every day and put out all of that energy and act as if we're not desperate to just, you know, go into a good coma or something like that to rest for a couple of weeks. So how can we as leaders dig deep and create that act as if type of thing for people to motivate them?
Well, I think first I do want to talk about the fact that as leaders, we also need to create boundaries. I think in our industry specifically, and you guys know this, especially many years ago, you know, we used to work 60 plus hours, and that was just normal. You know, that was just what you did.
Right.
Where now people are doing it and it's overwhelming them. So I think, you know, we aren't where we used to be, and we need to adjust and pivot through that. So part of it is creating boundaries. So making sure that you take your break and close your door and do your work and not get interrupted, and make sure you take those days off, and make sure that you know, do things for yourself. You know, that selfish part that you talked about sort of shutting everything out during COVID. There's nothing wrong with being selfish to an extent, right? But you also need to be selfless with your team. So finding that balance, creating those boundaries is good. And then,
right.
You know,
So sorry, instead of saying selfish, maybe what we're talking about is you need to take care and nurture yourself before you're allowed to do that, before your body and your emotional state will allow you to do that for others, right?
yeah,
James,
that's a better point.
right.
Yeah.
And James, if I may, kind of on Glenn's point, you have to take care of yourself because you can't take care of others, right? So
Yep.
everybody has this misconception. I've worked a lot of hours in my life, especially when I take over a hotel. When I take over a hotel, I mean, I lose weight, I don't see anybody, and I'm working 100 hours a week for a very short period of time. Could be 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. The most I've done is maybe 8 to 10 weeks. But then I haven't worked weekends when I was running hotels or developing hotels in New York City. 30 years. I never worked a weekend. I went in. I always had my meetings at 9:15 because I would be in by 8:30, and I needed my time. Sometimes 8. I needed my time with my reports, and I'd be out of my office by 6 o'clock. Right. So I work usually about a 10-hour day. I'd always take an hour lunch. Always left the building 100% of the time for 30 years. Always went out and bought a way overpriced lunch in Midtown or somewhere in New York, and sat in a corner. And so the people have this because when I am on, I make time, so I'm all on all the time. But I only work 50 hours a week, and I never work weekends. And so people have this misconception that in order to do something, like if you're working more than that, unless you're working on 2 or 3 projects and you're trying to shift to another job, like you're trying to be a nurse, but you're also, you're a front desk agent, but at night, that's different. But if you're running a company, especially a hotel, and you're working more than 50 hours a week, you're doing something wrong, unless it's during COVID.
Totally agree. And I want to totally go into that in the same way. Like I've done that myself, right? Like there's no reason to have to work beyond that. As long as you're empowering your team, you're providing the tools, time, and training to be successful. Like your team has a job to do, let them do it. Like you have a job to do, and there should be some separation from that. The idea that you should eat lunch at your desk or, not have that separation and not have a life outside of work. That's one of the things that part of my expectations for my team and myself is that, there should be a work-life balance. You should enjoy time with your family because that will allow you to have the energy to come deliver when you're here. So yeah, I'm glad that you're saying that and that we're talking about that, because I think there's a misconception from GMs and even above that you have to put in a ridiculous amount of hours. And
but there's also, James, this misconception of, I've heard it from people around me. It's like, do you believe they want me to work? They called me in and they expect me to come in on my day off. I'm like, yeah, they're short staffed. Suck it up,
that's what you
buttercup.
signed up for.
Right. And so we got to be careful, right? Because you have to sometimes work overtime. You have to work 6 days a week sometimes. You have to put in the extra work sometimes. So this first thing that you're hearing sometimes is people put their hand up and go, my mental health, I worked 40 hours this week. I can't do anymore. I got to go home and walk my dog 5 times a day. Now, that's okay if that job allows you. But if you get into a hotel or a job that doesn't really have a 9 to 5, you've got to want to do it, and that's kind of my second question for you is, you can talk about the confetti theory, you can talk about, support, the tools, be happy, come in, be part of all that. But what happens? What do you do when like somebody just doesn't want to do it? It's like they want to do it for the paycheck. They want to do it because they want to be out of their house. They want to be social. They want to hang out with their friends, but they really don't want to work doing this job. And we see it every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's just about coaching, right? So, one of the things that I do when I come on a hotel, to your point, there's a lot of work that when you start, is do one-on-one. So through that, there's 2 parts of it. One's personal and one's professional. I want to know who you are and what, rings your bell, and then what tools and things that you need from me so that I know where to put my energy instead of wasting 90 days trying to figure it out. And through that process, I get to know people's attitude. Right. So if they're not interested in really working and they are coming in for a check and it's just to do a certain thing and it's based on a schedule they like that doesn't really work for the business, well, then from that process, I work to improve their attitude. So by doing that, I know where to put my energy. So if that particular person has a bad attitude and doesn't have interest, I'm going to try and do that and build it, because maybe they had an experience with a manager prior that didn't invest in them, didn't care about them, and made them work till they fell over. And so I'm going to be the opposite, and I'm going to be what they need. And through that process, I'm going to learn, right? Like I always set people up for success, but they ultimately land where they are meant to land, right? They control their own destiny just like I do. So if they don't want to be there and I put in all I can to give them time, tools, and training to be successful, and they still don't show up and don't put in the effort, well, then they're not going to work for me anymore. And that's going to be, again, a natural journey that they're going to see coming before it happens. And again, if you're doing your walkabouts daily, if you're seeing and listening and supporting your team, they're not going to see that. They're not going to get hit over the head by that. They're going to know because they're going to see that you invested in them and that they didn't want to commit. So to those that are listening, that's sort of the answer is you got to give to get. And sometimes you do give a little more than you get. And that's okay, because ultimately you'll find someone else that does have the right attitude and can support you. But you're right. There's those tough days that you're working 14 hours. You worked, you're 8:15 to 6, and then, oh shit, the night auditor calls out and you don't have coverage because the front office manager did it last night and you got to do it. So it's part of the job. You're right. You have to be committed to that. But if you're building those relationships and creating that support system for your team, the people that matter and really care are going to stick around, and you're going to build a team that cares about that process and will commit to those things, and you'll find success. But again, it takes time, right? I'm not giving these people this like magic dragon that's going to, fix all their problems at all.
You know where we could get one of the magic dragons to fix all of our problems? I could use one of those. But James, it's interesting you're saying all of this. I'd like to get a little actionable insight from you right now. What are the first things a manager can do to make a demarcation point? Things are going to be different from this point forward. These are the first things I need to do for myself internally and for my staff to get them to buy in that we're going to be moving in a progressive way, creating a confetti culture.
It goes back to the fact that we took some breaks on some things from an operational standpoint. And one of the biggest things, and Anthony, I've followed you through, your show and everything at the beginning of my career and took a lot of notes as I went. And, one of the biggest things that I do every day and at the end of the day is have 2 huddles. So, you call them a stand-up, I call them a huddle. And the reason I call it a huddle is because it's just like a team getting energized and prepared for the day. And that process, if you communicate, collaborate, create cohesiveness through team building or whatever it is, and celebrate your team, those 4 C's,
Right.
that's going to set you up for success. So if you're communicating expectations, creating vision and purpose for the future, your team's going to know what to do that day and that week and moving forward. And then from there, if you're able to create collaboration. So, to your point, Anthony, there's people calling out because they don't care, right? Let's say your houseman calls out and you got a front office, a food and beverage supervisor that is alone today. Well, they're going to communicate that in huddle, and we're all going to go set up the room that's got to be flipped at 12 o'clock, right? If housekeeping has got an overload of rooms and we're doing a full turnover today, and we don't have enough linen because we couldn't buy it through COVID, and now we need to support that team, well, we're all going to do that, or at least the people that have the ability or flexibility today. And what that does is it creates the collaboration, so no one's left on an island, and they feel supported by not only me and me facilitating that, but by making sure that we're doing it together. And then, again, cohesiveness, like breaking up the monotony, right? Sometimes you come in and you had a flat tire. Sometimes you had an argument with your wife or your boyfriend or whoever, and you're just not feeling it. But you come in and we do a team building where you empty out a bunch of tissue boxes or you wrap each other around in toilet paper. I mean, it's silly stuff, but it puts smiles on people's faces. It brings people together. And I always say, even if people talk shit on the team building and hate it all together, they're still going to talk about it together somewhere else. It's going to bring them together.
I'm a super curmudgeon, James. And whenever I go to some of these conferences and they try to get us some of this stuff, I come in with the attitude of, oh, this is hokey. I don't really want to do it. Is there anything you can say to, crab fest like me to make it easier and appreciate it ahead of time? Or do I just have to suck it up and hope I like it?
No, what I've done, if I can, James, I'll give you the advice, Glenn, on that.
Yes, sir.
Always do a team building, letting them know the food and the drink will be there at 2 o'clock.
It's funny. I used to not do that, but it's so true.
What's that?
I said that I didn't used to provide food because I wanted people to show up and learn and not need the food to get there. But they need it. They need the food. They need something to get them excited too.
Right. But James, thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate you following me and hopefully I provide some insight. But I'm going to tell you what the soul crusher is, and this is the soul crusher because you've seen it. We talk about this stuff. There's been books written about this stuff since, man was alive. I'm sure if you go in the cave, there'll be a book about how to manage the cave. The soul crusher is your boss, the owner, the person you report to, because that person takes your energy, saps you. They're having financial issues. They're telling you have to cut payroll. They're having marital issues. They take it out on you. They spend an hour and a half talking about their marital issues, and they suck up your energy. And not only that, you're stressed out and you're intense because next week I may have to lay somebody off. That financially 6 months I'm trying to get my team going, but there may not be a 6 months to work for, right? I just had somebody I'm mentoring and I said, dude, this is what's happening, and this is what's going to happen to the hotel, and this is what they're saying to you because that's what they're supposed to say to you, and you're going to get slapped in the head. And I got a call last week and they go, how do you know this? It's just because I've been slapped in the head so much that it actually sticks. So my point is, so my point being is, this is all fine and good. How do you keep the owner's energy? Now, a lot of owners are great and a lot of owners give you everything you need. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying especially during this time where there's owners that didn't want to pay, even though they got funding from government, didn't want to give bonuses or raises or whatever. How do you, as the leader, deal with that? That's to me that breaks down all businesses. That relationship destroys businesses.
Yeah, I mean, I think, depending on your property and your owners, you definitely can have a lot of difficulty with that, and even your superior, if that's the case. I've always been the type of person that, and again, I'm not like everybody, just like you're not like everybody, but I've always tried to control what I can control. And not let other people control me through their actions, right? So if someone else is having a hard day, if someone else is doing it, although it is contagious, I'm not going to let them control my emotions and get the best of me. What I can control is the consistency I bring as a leader and the consistency I bring in the operation and in the employee experience and guest experience. And so that's what I'm going to focus on. And, you could have that boss that's really tough, or the owners that don't want to spend money, but although there are, financial parts of what I talk about in the book, buying lunches and having these parties and things like that, it's really the huddle. It's really the genuine appreciation. It's really the walkabouts. It's the seeing, the hearing, and supporting that makes the difference. And none of that has to get approval. And I think we can get going back to that word, discouraged, from maybe the people above us that really make those decisions. But as long as you're providing the time, tools, and training to be successful and being consistent in what you deliver as a leader, the rest should fall into place. Maybe we don't get raises right when we want to. Maybe we don't get, the bonuses we hope to get. But if you're communicating every day, they're not going to sit and wonder for 6 months and say, F this guy, right? They're gonna know every day what's going on and why. And it's not to blame the owners or your superior or whoever it may be. It's just communicating and setting clear expectations.
You just said everything. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, go ahead. But you just said though, clear expectations. You provided that to your person you mentor. If you provide clear expectations, there won't be wonders. There won't be, people getting riled up or emotional about something, because they'll know what's going on. And when you do that, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, you said two things that are very enlightening. Walking around, you don't have to have any other meetings except to stand up or a huddle and walking around. I remember there was a young lady, and I'm that general manager that is everywhere. And I was walking around. She was a housekeeper. Her name was Mary. And I was at the Okanagan Hotel, and I'm going at the staircase. And every day, me and Mary see each other, and me and Mary would, would exchange pleasantries. And I'm walking down, and I'm kind of in a little rush. She's in a little rush. And I go, good morning. She goes, good morning. She called me Mr. Tony. She goes, good morning, Mr. Tony. I go, good morning. And I got about 3 steps above, and I go, stop. She turns around, and I go, what's the matter? Literally starts bawling. And I don't want to go too much into it, but I personally took her aside, made sure she got what she needed. She was having some challenges financially, made sure she was taken care of. She comes back to me, I don't know, a couple weeks later, and she said, how did you know? And I said, because I see you every day. She goes, yeah, and she was smiling. She said, look, but there was something just off in the eye. So if you're a manager and you're getting your profit and loss statements at the end of the week, and you're getting your inventory at the end of the week, and you're getting your how's the team doing at the end of the week, you're a failure. You should know that every single day. You should know what inventory looks like because you're walking the property every day. You should know how people feel because you're walking the property. Your manager's going to lie to you. Your supervisor's going to lie to you. They don't want to give you bad news. They're going to lie to you. So everything you just said to me is everything. Like what you just said, if you do nothing else, when you do that, your team will feel you because you'll cry with them. You'll laugh with them. You'll joke with them.
Yep.
And when you and the other thing you said, which I think a lot of people just don't do, is they hide the why, right? They hide the why. I remember when I was working for a restaurant company, and Dr. Santo, this gentleman, gave me 2 bags. One was payroll, one was accounts receivable. And he says, which one? I didn't know it was a bag. And I go, that one. Thank God it was payroll. And we paid payroll. So I understood the financial mess that they were in, so I can then relate it to my team. So if you're walking around and looking people in the eye, and if you're telling them, you're being honest with them about where we are as a team. I mean, how many times have you told people maybe it's time for you to move on because I don't see growth here? I love you. You're great. I'll give you a great reference. But you're not going to grow into a general manager here because I'm going to be here for a while and we don't have any other hotels. So please move on.
Right. I mean, I think that, again, that goes back to, just being honest and having that open dialogue. And that's why I start every time I get involved with a hotel is I do those one-on-ones because, and I'm like you, Anthony, I'm bald, in a suit, I'm scary, right? So if I come in and start pointing and shooting and telling people what to do, it's going to be a lot harder to get people interested and motivated to do it. But if I have a conversation and build the relationship and get to know them personally, and again, I said, there's a personal side of that conversation and a professional. We'll share about what we like to eat, what we do, and I share it too, so that they get to know me, so that when they see me in the hall and I am in a suit and scary, I'm not scary anymore. It breaks down that wall so that we know each other. And when someone's walking down that stairwell, that they're not okay, and they see that you care enough to ask.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's it, guys. Like you don't need people to give you a whole bunch of money to go have a fair out in your parking lot. You need to just be there for your people, just like you're there for your family, just like you want people to be there for you. It's really
Listen,
that simple. And if you're consistent with that, you'll find
if you're a
success.
teacher and you don't like children, you should probably not be a teacher. If you're a nurse, and you don't like blood, probably shouldn't be a nurse.
Right.
If you're in the hotel business and you don't like being happy, like you're not a happy person, because that's what it comes down to. Let's just cut the bullshit about everything else, right?
Sure.
If you're not a happy person, people are going to see it. People are going to feel it. There's plenty of days that I come in that I got the owner stressing me out or whatever, but I live in gratitude. So in the hospitality industry, it is fundamentally part of your job. Just like a nurse having to give you a needle, or a teacher having to learn how to read a book. If you're not fundamentally at peace with yourself, that's a secret weapon in the hospitality industry, because we're serving the owners, the guests, the employees 24/7. So if you don't have your shit together, it's going to crack.
For sure. And you're right. Gratitude is so important. And it's a huge thing for me. One of the things I talk about in the book is something called the kindness wall, something we tried out at one of my hotels in the past. And what it is basically a wall with Post-its, and people can engage with it, and it creates PDA, public displays of appreciation. And we put it right by the entryway where people come in every day, so that if they had that tough conversation with their mom or their boyfriend or whoever, and they're just not having a great day, they come in and they see things written about them, right? And I talk about this, and I'm sure you guys do the same, right? Like, there's people across my career that have written me notes about how they appreciate what I'm doing or what I've done, or there was that moment or whatever. And I still have most of those. Because you want to read that. Sometimes you talked about imposter syndrome and confidence and things like that. We all lack those things at times, and we need a boost just like anybody else. So this wall creates an opportunity for people to engage with it, to share with their team members that they appreciate them, whether it's because they just listened to each other out on the bench before they left, or it's because they helped carry some stuff up the stairs because the elevator was broken. Like, it's anything and everything, but that public display of appreciation really starts to help. And again, coaching people into having that attitude of gratitude, because you can have it as a leader, but if you don't coach it throughout, it's not going to be adopted. So putting things into place like that kindness wall, like having thank you notes that you can attach to paychecks to your other team members, those things help to create and foster that belief in that attitude.
James, I want to go back and ask a very basic question here about how does a leader actually set those clear expectations? The reason why I ask is I think there's an issue, because I get accused of this all the time, and I think Anthony probably does too, that I'm way too direct, right?
Me too. No, me too. All the time.
So, right. And I'm like, maybe I'm a New Yorker, and Anthony and I, we don't understand why you wouldn't be direct, right? So I have a feeling in certain subcultures in our wonderful American society that people aren't necessarily setting those clear expectations because of that same issue. So how do you get
Glenn, you're not direct, you're insensitive to my needs.
That's true too, but that's James, that's only with Anthony, because someone's got to be insensitive to him.
Man. That's funny. So I mean, I think, wait, what was the question again? Say it again.
All right. How do you get people to actually set clear expectations as opposed to thinking they are? Because again, a lot of our cultural mores might be, don't be direct, don't say this, don't do that.
No, you have to be direct. And I mentioned it a minute ago. Setting clear expectations is a super important part of your success as a leader, and you have to provide those. And, I always do it, when I take over a hotel in a meeting, where I review it and communicate it in person. Because what can happen is, just like a text, just like an email, it can be perceived in a way that you didn't write it.
Right.
And so if you post expectations or you send an email, this is what's happening from now on.
By the way, I have a little issue where I will say what I mean, and people will always read the wrong tone in my emails,
Sure.
Actually, hold on a second. I want to talk about that for a second, because that is critically important. I have never written an email. Glenn knows me now for years. I have never written an email that he can misunderstand, that he can not understand. I call him up and I go, Glenn, I'm fucking, excuse my language, I'm pissed. right? Or he'll call me, or sometimes we'll ignore each other for 24 hours, right? I think email to express a direct point, unless it's a legal point, and or unless it's a I need you on Sunday morning to take out the trash because thank you very much. But to say, hey, I'm disappointed in you. I didn't think that that was the right thing that you should do. I never think that's a good place to put an email. I think it's horrible. I think it's horrible. I think it
Right. And
should
a lot of people
always
try
be
to avoid that, that
Matt Glenn.
confrontation. So
Matt Glenn.
that's
I do. I have been getting better at doing like a disclaimer. Please do not read anything into the following email.
Right. And then everybody reads into it. So
yes. Anyway, go on.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You're good, Anthony.
No, I just think at the end of the day, I am a direct person, but I'm a kind person, and I'm not for everyone. I mean, you've seen it, and if you watch my show, you've seen it. That's who I am in real life. Matter of fact, my assistant that worked for me, my assistant that worked for me at the Algonquin calls me up after the first season and says to me, "Are they telling you not to be you?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "That's not you." I go, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "You're worse than that." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And she goes, "You're a lot more." I said, "Yeah, but I was there for 6 months turning around a legendary hotel." The point being is, I'm a very nice person. I am very direct. You may not want to work for me. I am not, James, I'll be honest with you. I know people's names. I talk to people every day, but I don't talk about the football game. I don't get to know them, that they play guitar and they play the drums, and I don't do that. I'm like, "Hey, man, how you doing, Maria, today? How's everything? How you doing? Good. What do you need? How's your boss? How's your linen? You have everything you need on the linen cart? Did you get your raise last week? You didn't get your raise? I'll take care of that. Your bonus, man, you're going to get your bonus this year. This is a good year, right?" That's the kind of conversations I have. I don't have the temperament for the personal stuff, because at the end of the day, my brain works as I have a goal for you to be successful. And my goal for you is, do you have what you need to be successful? Because we're going to put a lot on your plate. So I applaud, and I'm trying to get better as I get older to do what you do. But in the beginning of my career, that was a quality I lacked.
Me too. And I think that's just, everybody has their own personal journey and evolving of that style. But yeah, to your point, you should be authentically you. You don't want to be, again, in my book, I'm giving you tools, but you should use them in the best way for you, that feels natural and to you, because to your point, your team's going to know if it's authentic or not, if it's real or not, if you're trying to put up a facade or you're dialing it down. But I'm the same way, right? I'm very direct. Expectations are what they are, but I think where I found success in my sort of growth journey is that by having those more personal conversations and building those relationships with the team members, I'm able to have the more direct, tough conversations, and it doesn't get perceived in a way or received emotionally in a way that shuts them down, which can happen. And so that's, for those who are listening, that's a great way to sort of make adjustments. You may be super direct, you may be super non-confrontational and don't want to share expectations because you're nervous that, you're going to be held accountable to them too. But that's part of leadership. That's part of growth, and seeing the opportunities, not only with your team and your operation and efficiency, but also seeing how you can grow and improve. You doing that, your team will, slowly adopt that as well.
All right. So James, before we wrap up today, we're quickly running out of time. Why don't you tell us one good story about how you implemented all of these things to help create a strong confetti culture within a hotel that set them on the road to be successful?
He watched Hotel Impossible.
No, look, I did. Look, and I do have to, again, take my hat off to you, because, as a young man that didn't have a clear path of what I was doing, to put on a suit and look like $1 million and feel like somebody and follow in your footsteps from what was on TV. I mean, I started my career in 2013. You started the show in 2012. Like, there's a clear correlation of how I developed as a leader in the industry because of you. So,
wow, that means that you're gonna make me cry. That means the world to me. Thank you.
And it's the truth, 100%. You could ask my wife, but again, I always go back to huddle, because that's the thing that you can do every day. And I talk about habits and consistency. If you communicate, collaborate, and celebrate every single day, that's the things that really make a difference. Your team's going to see you, they're going to feel you, they're going to hear you, they're going to be part of it. They're going to understand where they're headed and why they're headed there. And again, I do it twice a day. So I would typically do it at 10 a.m. It gives some time for the people that may have started at 7 or 9 to understand what's needed and be able to communicate that at 10. And then I also do it at 5. And the reason for that is people that are ending their shift in an hour or people that just arrived, it connects those two. Because one of the things that I found in my career is that a lot of times the AM team is super strong. And the reason for that is because all the managers are working. So they're always well supported. They always have what they need. But then at night, there's a lot less support. And usually at night is when the most business is, right? So that PM team can get very disgruntled and feel underappreciated and undersupported. So by having that huddle at night,
C team, right?
right, and really they're the ones that keep the place afloat. So, making sure that you have that communication with that team and have that collaboration and everything else twice a day,
right,
really ensures that your leadership transcends the entire organization, not just the part that you're necessarily there for. And again, it seems so basic, but I've gone to, flag properties and independent properties where they don't do stand up because it doesn't work. And it does work if it's done right.
I'm sorry.
But I think
that is the most asinine thing I've ever heard.
I totally agree, but it's I think because people don't know how to run it, what happens is people will talk at each other and say, this is what's happening, this is the event. Anything else? All right, see you guys. And that doesn't build relationships. It doesn't build anything. And what I always say is, like, I entered this hotel that had a lot of struggles. They all came into work and went to their desk and did their job. And the only time they connected was when shit hit the fan and they had to. And at that point, they're all pointing the finger and saying, well, you didn't give us the right instructions on the BO and you didn't set up the room properly. And now the guest is upset with me and they got to talk to you. And it just gets messy, right? So by having 2 huddles a day, you bring everyone together, you do it together, and you create that positive memory twice a day so that when those tough memories come back, you've been through both and you can handle it. Because the tough days are going to be there. The tough moments are going to be there. So be more intentional in how you control what you can control. And that's
it's interesting. It's interesting. The reason I call it a stand-up is because I go into meetings when I first take over. I never take over a good hotel. I always take over a hotel that's about to go out of business or just upside down and backwards. Sure. So when I come in, and most people, when I say we're going to have stand-up at 9:15 or whatever time it is, they're sitting down. And I go, what's the name of the stand-up? What's the name of the meeting? It's a stand-up.
Sure.
They still don't stand up. I go, can everybody stand up, please? And it does another thing. It takes away the chair. It takes away that thing that separates us. We're standing literally, toe to toe, shoulder to shoulder. I think and I always do it in an area that's the heartbeat of the hotel. Like in Nickelodeon, we did it on the stage. At the Algonquin, we did it at the piano. So I always find a place that is a soul. And also, the reason I laugh is because if you're doing it right, things like this happen. We had purchase orders, and at the time they weren't electronic, and you had to get like 6 different. It was the Nickelodeon Hotel. It was 5 acres, 1,500 employees. It was huge, and people would complain. It's like, where's the purchase order for so and so? And they're like, well, it's on what's so and so's desk. And all you heard for the first week was, we can never get purchase orders in timely manner because it needs too many signatures. So what do? We're all here at the stand-up.
Right.
Bring the damn purchase order to the stand-up, and then at the end of the stand-up, take 5 minutes, and everybody approve or disapprove, and have a stand-up about purchase orders for 5 minutes.
Right.
Immediately changed everything in that hotel. Everything, because you know as well as I do that if you don't have supplies, it takes everybody down. You have 1 part instead of 2 parts, or 2 parts instead of 3 parts, and you don't have enough beer on Friday night, or whatever it is. Just get the damn purchase orders at the stand-ups every day.
Right.
Like you say,
to be overcomplicated.
No, the stand-ups are, and I'm also not the guy that says you need to have something every day. I'm not that guy. But if you come to my meeting and I know you should be having stuff because your shit's falling apart, I will pull you aside and go, dude, you come into the meeting like everything's great. Well, I'm working on things. I said, that's what the stand-up's for, so we know what you're working on. Like, let us know so we can help you. So to me, you have a stand up, you might as well close the hotel. That's just my opinion.
100%. It's absolutely crucial to the success of your team. So
James,
if you're not doing that currently, make sure you do.
James, what if as the leader, you're in the worst mood? You had that massive fight at home. You just wake up on the wrong side of the bed. You're not feeling it. How do you share that with your team? How do you approach that in your meetings to be open and honest?
One of the things that I try and practice is seeking the good. And, I think at this point, most of my LinkedIn network knows that I just, thank God, beat cancer.
Actually, congratulations on being cancer free.
Thank
been
you.
a real tough journey.
So yeah, it has been tough. But one of the things that I try to express through my journey is to seek the good. We all go through tough times, whether it's today, tomorrow, whenever. But through those processes, there's always something good happening. And we often get so focused on the bad that's going on around us that we don't see the good. And so one of the things that I do is share stories at Huddle about something good that's in their life. And look, that's not every day, because that would get like, how could I come up with something great every day, right? But having that maybe every Tuesday, which I used to have something called Gratitude Tuesday, where I would send out something to say thank you to the team via email to share that. But finding ways to seek the good is a big thing, and by doing that, you kind of distract yourself and teach yourself to not focus on that bad stuff, because those things are going to happen. You can only control so much. But if you are seeking the good and celebrating that journey and through that process, you're going to be much better off mentally, physically, and energetically.
And the reason I smiled when he said that, because I knew your answer was going to be something like that. And I saw your journey just recently. I just realized that you went through a cancer battle. Congratulations. And not only being strong, but coming through it with such a light. You're a light. Like I said, I don't know too many people's LinkedIn page because I don't really care. And yours is very much your face is always in my eyes. I'm like, dude, like your face is a brand now. But
good. I'm glad it's getting there.
I say it like this, right? You have your church, you have your God, you have your family, you have your workout, you have your friends. Bringing your shit to work, even if you're in a bad mood, for me, it was so easy.
Right.
It was so easy to never bring a stress from home to work. It was like insanely easy for me. Matter of fact, I never remember being stressed out at work about anything at home, because that's just not my job. My job, if you're going to be a manager, if you're going to be I never call myself a leader. If you're going to be the manager, you're going to manage these people's environment. Your number one priority to everything you're saying, James, is to bring the confetti, is to make sure that you're reducing the amount of problems that they have on a daily basis, because you're going to go, hey, why'd you get that? It's like a manager. We drilled the double play 100 times. I got you new cleats. I got you a new glove. I got you a better first baseman. I did everything you wanted me to do. I even washed the car in the parking lot, but you keep dropping the damn ball, right? So our job is to make sure you don't drop the damn ball when we hit you the ball. And so if I'm telling you why I dropped the ball, I have people for that. I have friends and family, and I have mentors to help me with that. But when you come in, like, it's the stage. How many Broadway performers have bad days? You have no idea they have a bad day. To me, it's the same thing.
100%. Yeah, you gotta know why you're there and who you're doing it for, and make sure that you focus on them. And I always say this too, in closing, like, if you were to ask someone about my leadership style, I never ask about my superior. I always ask the people I serve, because those are the people that see me and feel me every single day and know who I am as a man, as a leader, as a manager. And so when you realize that that's the case, and you're constantly in serve mode, because ultimately we're all here to serve our guests, but we have to make sure that we serve the people that are responsible for our guests. And when you focus on that, and less about impressing someone else or doing what you think is best for you, and just really serve your people and put them first, that's really going to make ultimately the biggest difference.
I know we're getting to the end, but Glenn, before we end it, I'll say this, and Glenn's heard me say this many times. I don't care about the guests. I care about the employees. My job's not about the guests. If I take care of my employees, they're going to take care of the guests. So when I go out and I look at the employee in the elevator or the restaurant, I'm joking and hanging out with the guests because they're making me laugh, because they're happy. But I never focus on the guests. I focus on having what the employees need to ensure the guests have good sheets and they have a smile and they have a uniform.
Right.
That's what again, I love the guests, but like that's not my focus. Not even close. It's always 100% focused on my employees and the ownership. If the owners are off my back and they're leaving me alone, that means they're making money. And if the employees, are high-fiving me and calling me Mr. Tony, they're happy, I'm good. Then if the guests aren't happy, then I must be playing a different sport with, I must not know what sport I'm playing. Because that's impossible. If the owners are happy and the employees are happy, it's impossible. The guests won't be happy. It's impossible.
100%.
All right, James, last question for you before I let you do a good plug for the book. You're a Philly guy, Pat's, Geno's, or somewhere else?
I'm a Pats guy. I think everybody has a different opinion on that. There's definitely some good spots on South Street and then some other spots, but yeah, I'm a Pats guy.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Brady's back. Tampa Bay. Brady's back. Sorry, I had to say that.
It's so ridiculous. No, yeah, but
James, I loved your book. You're awesome. Tell us about it. How do we find it?
So you guys can go to the confetticultureplaybook.com. On there, you can get the book. There's a podcast. There's resources, the leadership review. There's the 5Ps proactive plan. There's posters. There's these little subtle reminders of talk about accountability that says put employees first. Make sure you go check it out. And you can reach me there in case you want added resources or just want to talk. I'm always available.
You know what, James? I may have to change the name of my book now to have a more positive spin. But then my book this week is called Suck Less Than You Did Yesterday.
I like that. Don't change it. Again, be authentically you. That's really it. Keep it.
I like that. We've been doing this show every day for 2 years, and I think he's had about 53 names for the book. So
It's a working title, right?
I know.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's a working title.
Yep. All right, James, thank you so much. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you. See you soon. Oh, that was a great interview. I really, really enjoyed talking with him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. You look at him, and he's such a positive influence, and a beautiful book, and he's been through hell. And you would never know it. You would never know it.
Absolutely. I mean, between his health issues and having the challenges that we've all faced, whew, how incredible. All right, guys, make sure you download this on our audio version only, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. You know where we are already. Everywhere you get your shows, well, you can, if you can get them, get ours there. Sorry, that was not quite English. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. Any final thoughts, sir?
Don't you think they're used to not having English because I'm on the show? So you not speaking English, they're used to it. There's some form of English I speak. I just don't speak your English, the proper English.
All right, join us tomorrow for the big episode 600. That's right, 600 episodes of No Vacancy Live in the till after tomorrow. So we're not going to make a big deal about it, but we did want to acknowledge it.
Yeah, well, I just want to know how many I contributed to. I don't care about the 600. I'm selfish.
7.
Would you say 300? 400?
Somewhere in the 300 plus at this point. Because, it used to be a weekly show, and then we switched to daily around 2 years ago today. So
600 shows. Wow. That's marvelous. That doesn't impress me. What impresses me is you got to podcasting basically the same year Joe Rogan got to podcasting.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I know.
Just because of how he's doing. He's made 100 million on a deal. I've probably made a couple of hundred.
Yeah, you know what, dude? But also, when you say something, the entire world doesn't condemn you. So I don't want that pressure, bro.
That's it. That is really a good point, though. If I had mountains of money, it'd make it a whole lot easier. All right,
that's true.
Remember, you got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See y'all tomorrow.